On his first day out in the world, He-Man came across a mysterious green-skinned woman. Wielding magic, wearing snake-like armor, and guarding a trove of vast secrets, including He-Man's power suit and battle ram, this woman, who had such an unheralded introduction into the Masters of the Universe, would go on to have one of the more complex histories of the line. Hi everyone, I'm Mac, and this is the countdown to Castle Grayskull. This is the Sorceress. Teela. This is the Goddess. Actually, she's all of them.
By the power of Grayskull!
Okay friends, strap in, this is a long one. In 1982, the only female action figure of Wave 1 of the Masters of the Universe line was released. Teela was unique among action figures, not only a girl figure in a boys' toy line, but one who was seemingly integral to the story. The Teela figure came with armor that resembled a hooded cobra as well as the staff with a cobra's head. In the mini-comic, we first meet a character that resembles Teela in the first few pages. A green-skinned woman wearing Teela's cobra armor locked in battle with some fanged beast. After defeating the monster with the help of He-Man, the green-skinned woman recognized him as the potential hero he was and took him to a cave where she housed ancient secrets. In this cave, the green-skinned woman bestowed upon He-Man his battle axe, shield, power suit, and the battle ram. She later appears towards the end of the comic, in which she takes the power sword from Skeletor and splits it in half. In this comic, she is known only as the Sorceress. Unfortunately, the Sorceress seemed to disappear from the narrative for a while after this initial appearance. When we do see her next, she has shed her green skin and now has a light skin color. In addition, at some point, she stopped going by the Sorceress and started to be called the Goddess. In the same first mini-comic we met the Sorceress, we were also introduced to what we assumed to be a human female named Teela, a character that the writer, Skeletor, Beastman, and Man-at-Arms all refer to as a warrior goddess, the same title she had on her vintage card back. In addition, she resembles what the vintage Teela action figure looked like without her snake armor on. In this initial introduction, we are not told much about her other than that Skeletor wants to take her as his bride. This is a common theme through the mini-comics, and we eventually learn that marrying her has something to do with conquering Castle Grayskull. All of this eventually ties together in the mini-comic titled The Tale of Teela. This issue starts with Skeletor calling to Teela in a dream, and when she wakes up, she thinks it is her missing mother calling to her. Teela leaves the palace to seek out the source of the call and falls into a trap set by Skeletor where she is ambushed by his minions and taken captive. And before we go any further, let's not gloss over the fact that it took Merman, Trapjaw, Triclops, and Beastman to bring her down. The quartet takes Teela to Point Dread where Skeletor is waiting for her, and this is when we learn about the connection between Teela and the Goddess. 20 years before we catch up with the history of the Masters of the Universe, that is 20 years before the story told in the first mini-comic, Skeletor was able to trap the Goddess in Point Dread. In Point Dread, Skeletor was able to use his magic to siphon off the power of the Goddess and create a human duplicate in which he placed that power. His plan was to raise this clone of the Goddess, marry her, and then use her in combination with his own powers to conquer Castle Grayskull. Before the process could be completed, however, Man-at-Arms came bursting in like a boss and fought Skeletor to release the Goddess. Skeletor notes that Man-at-Arms got lucky, and I just assumed that trying to siphon the power off of a goddess takes a lot out of a demon, so Skeletor wasn't at his strongest by the time Duncan came on the scene. After freeing the Goddess, the two found themselves with a human infant in their hands, a baby that Man-at-Arms vowed to raise as his own, and he names her Teela after the Goddess's real name. And there we learn everything we need to know, the connection between the Goddess and Teela, why the two share the same vintage action figure, why Skeletor has had an obsession with marrying Teela, why she is referred to as the warrior goddess, her strength, her connection to Man-at-Arms, and even why at one point the spirit of Castle Grayskull deemed Teela the castle's protector. To prove they were one and the same, the Goddess and Teela were even able to fuse together Dragon Ball Z style and form a being stronger than either one of them on their own. Of course, this was all undone by Filmation with the much more mundane story of Teela being the Sorceress's daughter, and for some reason she can't know. When it's all said and done, the Goddess's minifigure, like all of the Castle Grayskull minifigures, is just a recoloring of the Teela minifigure we received with the Battle for Eternia collection pack. Even though this is just a recoloring, I appreciate that we received this figure with Castle Grayskull. I have always preferred this character over the Sorceress character that was introduced in the Filmation series. The coloring and the shading is done very well, and unlike the all-red Beastman, there is shading differences between her skin and her armor, with gold and white highlights that gives the figure depth and contrast. The most notable accessory she comes with is her snake armor, and I love this piece. I love the sculpt of it, the color, the green eyes, and how well it fits the figure. In addition, she comes with a bronze-colored spear and shield. In many of the mini-comics, the Goddess is seen wielding the Staff of Ka, the snake-headed staff that came with the Teela minifigure, and while the staff was used by both Teela and the Goddess, and at one point the Sorceress, this one, not that one, I think it looks better for the Goddess's figure rather than the bronze spear and shield. And when you switch weapons between the two, you can do this with Teela. Also, you can put the snake armor on your Teela minifigure to get that classic vintage action figure look, or you could use this as a fused Goddess. The Goddess has all the articulation of the Mega Construx action figures. I like the sculpt of the snake armor. It conforms to the mold of the Goddess's and Teela's torso, but it doesn't interfere with head articulation at all. She does not come with a name-printed display stand. Instead, we get this simple sand green piece to pose her on. Hey everyone, thank you for hanging out and listening to me talk about the Masters of the Universe Goddess. While it's never specifically stated what she's a goddess of, it can be inferred that she is some sort of nature deity. If you weren't a fan of the mini-comics, or you've never known about the sorceress/goddess relationship with Teela, this figure may not mean as much to you. But to those of us that were fans of the Masters of the Universe since the beginning, this figure means a lot. So leave me a comment down below. Let me know if this is your sorceress, or if you were a fan of the Falcon Sorceress. Don't forget to like and share, and remember to subscribe. Ring the bell so you know whenever I upload a video. Play well, everyone, and as always, thank you for watching.
He